When I go to these meetings, I've spoken about this very issue numerous times, and other people have, many more times than I have. The problem is the contract. When you are a volunteer, and this is the same with county, when you're a volunteer with city, if you apply to be a volunteer, read that contract. Read what's in that contract. And what makes city more open to this than county is they have all these different programs, which is a good thing. But with the programs come affiliates and partners and thus more contracts. So they have this whole NKLA thing with city. No KLA, 5-year plan, all these nonprofits, all these organizations that come together, they're considered partners. I think that's the right phrasing that they use. When you become an organizational partner, a rescue partner, you are under the NKLA umbrella, which allows you to then potentially get grants from Best Friends, who is the nonprofit working hand in hand with city. So the nonprofit above all this, giving money to different organizations to do this program, to do that idea, etc. You get grants to do these things. That's a privilege in the eyes of the city. With that comes strings, though. In order to become a partner with Best Friends, it's another contract that you need to sign as an organization. And read that contract, because in that contract, and I don't have it in front of me, but it very specifically states, you shall not criticize the department. So when you sign that contract as an organization, you're essentially effectively signing away your freedom of speech, in a sense, under the structure of LA City. Even though it's illegal because the Constitution trumps that, most people don't fight for their right to say whatever they want. So when you become a partner and you sign this contract, that's what happens. You don't speak out about the things that you see and hear, and you don't go to commission meetings and put a complaint on the record during public comment. How many NKLA partners usually go to the commission meetings and speak? How many do you see? Because I don't see that many. They may show up when there's a specific program being talked about, and they'll show up and they'll give their opinions. But how many go to be critical of the department? It hardly ever happens. The only ones being critical of the department are very engaged people who word their criticisms very carefully, that are inside the system, and then people outside the system, like myself, for example. I don't have anything to lose because I'm not a partner. And the other people that show up are people that have already been affected, ex-volunteers. You'll see them go, they'll give testimony, say, I was volunteering, I did this, I got fired as a volunteer. They're asking for more volunteers. I was fired as a volunteer. Why was I fired if they need more volunteers? You'll hear this same song and dance numerous times over and over if you listen to meeting after meeting after meeting. They do 2 a month for years now. Go back, listen to them. When you become a partner with NKLA, you sign a contract that, under the city attorney and the structure that they have in place with the city, implies upon you that you are not allowed to criticize the department. And if you do criticize the department, and not only the department, but other partner members, other coalition partners, there you go, there's the term, other coalition partners. If you criticize the department or other coalition partners, you are in line for trouble and retaliation in numerous forms. You could lose your poll rights as a rescue. You could use your partnership under the whole umbrella, which potentially loses your grant if you had one. If you're a volunteer, you could just be fired as a volunteer. If you're working with a rescue, the rescue could excommunicate you from the rescue work. There's numerous ways where this verbiage, where this language fearmongers people into not speaking out about what they've experienced. So that's the problem. You want to talk about community collaboration and citizen collaboration, just idea sharing, communication about concepts. If you want to open that up, get rid of the contracts, get rid of city thinking like they have the upper hand in being able to retaliate against people, because it goes on all the time in different ways. And if you don't think that these organizations who are getting money from best friends to do this or that, if you don't think A, they've seen, they've heard, they've experienced crazy shit, you're crazy. And B, that they fear speaking out, or the culture, or what they've became normalized to is just not saying anything, because they know there is something coming down the pike for them if they say certain things. This is publicly. This is going to a meeting and putting a public comment on the record, a city council meeting, hearsay in the community, or social media stuff. Facebook. They watch Facebook pages. Someone was there tonight that made the comment that said staff would be better utilized if they spent more time not watching people's Facebook pages. And I don't know what specifically she was talking about, who specifically, what shelter specifically, but it doesn't matter. The fact that that goes on anywhere, and I know it goes on at county because it's happened to me directly at county. You want to play ball, you got to play by these rules. You want to get in the game, you got to play by these rules. Look, I was asked, as Sway Love, I was asked to be a coalition partner probably 2-3 years ago. Got the application sent to me. I was going to do it. There's no downside to doing it, I thought. And then I got the application and I read it and got to the part where it was like, well, you agree to not say this or that, or you cannot criticize the department, and you are not allowed to speak out against coalition partners, and yada yada yada, all this just subjective, open-ended verbiage. And I was like, I'm not signing this. Okay, no, I don't want to be a coalition partner. If that's what I have to do to become one, then no, okay, I won't. You have this community, Los Angeles, and it's big and it's vast, and there's a lot of money and influence. Not just all the negative stuff, money and influence. There's ideas, there's energy, there's effort, but yet they only want to hear from a certain portion of those folks who technically and officially become partners for them. And then they're under this umbrella of, you can say this, but you can't say that. You can say this, but you can't say that. You can do this, but you can't do that. If you do that, you're no longer in this. That's what's going on here. And that's one of the biggest impediments to fixing a lot of these issues. Just taking them on, trying to genuinely take them on. A lot of these repetitive issues that come up at commission meetings. That's one of the main things, commissioners. It's the veil of silence around those that are already playing ball. And nothing against them. They're doing what they have to do. I understand it. They're doing what they have to do to be part of whatever system and to get grant money and to get access. And I understand it. I totally get it. But the problem is when all those things, all those carrots can be held out like, look at this magic carrot, but then it can be yanked away if you do something that the department doesn't like. That's when they start getting this legitimate grip on all the ideas. Everything that happens has to run through and get signed off by them. You can't, and being critical is a funny thing, because like a lot of people say, oh, well, why you gotta be negative? Why can't you just be positive? Look, there's so many different ways to define what is critical. Being critical is very loving too. It's making you better. It's pushing you forward. So yeah, there's gonna be some people that are gonna go up there and go crazy and shout down and cuss and fuck this and fuck that. But the majority of people are just frustrated. They've said the same things over and over and over again, and no one listens to them. And they're passionate, and they still got something going on in here. And they're trying to be effective by giving their opinion, or saying, well, this isn't working and here's why, or this is not very transparent and here's why. Like they were showing all the kill stats today. It's just misleading. If someone was to say that, you'd get in a lot of trouble. Hot water. Misleading kill stats, save rates, all the verbiage that goes on with that. Rescue only, not adoptable, all these things. Things that facilitate shelter shelter math. Get in a lot of trouble if you talk about that. No coalition partners talking about that. Nah, they're not. It's yay best friends. We have a great save rate. And again, this is not anti-best friends. This is not anti-city. This is just me being open about what's going on as an outsider and being critical in a way and talking about something that is problematic. And that should be embraced. Because if you're genuine about what you're doing, you ultimately want to improve. See where the holdups are. See what's causing certain dominoes to fall. Alienating the biggest portion of your community because you ultimately want control of all narratives is not healthy. There's a lot of people that want to volunteer, want to help in an official capacity, an unofficial capacity, that either are being turned away out the gate or are being allowed in, and then they don't play by the rules. Totally open-ended concept, by the way, because they get to define what rules are and what breaks it and what doesn't, and it's all subjective, and it's just a big massive rabbit hole. Totally different video. You're alienating a lot of folks, a lot of good people that can help you achieve your goals, right? So that's what collaboration is about. So when Roger Wolfson asks, what are the problems, what's standing in the way of people collaborating more? Well, and if you don't, you forgot because you've been told before. Look at the contracts. Look how they give the impression to people that they can't do certain things and that there's repercussions for doing certain things. That makes people shut the F up really quick if they have something to lose. And a lot of people on the inside of the system, of the shelter system, that city, have a lot to lose because there's a lot going on. There's a lot of programs, there's a lot of funding, there's a lot of access that can all be taken away, potentially, if you get out of line. I didn't want to be subjected to that, so that's why when I was asked to become a partner, I immediately said, well, I'm not going to sign this. This is not something I'm going to sign. And I'm not nobody special, they don't need me, you know what I mean? But it would be nice to have my help accepted without having to become a official partner and sign away and give this, this faulty perception that now I can't be critical. Well, I still can, and if I did become a partner and did get critical, I would have probably been let go as a partner and we'd have a whole new video. This is what's going on. This is one of the big problems with the city system. That's why I go to these meetings. Because it's always interesting to just go and sit and observe and listen to the people talk. And it's usually the same people and it's the same issues. So many of them are valid too. So many of them you'll hear and be like, yeah, that's a damn good idea. Well, that's a valid complaint. Or, oh, that thought makes some sense. And I say all this with respect to the efforts being put forth by the city. So many times people, it's all political. It's just like politics. This video by a certain amount of people is going to be perceived as being very negative, very hypercritical to the city. And so many people break down into teams. So it's like, oh, we need to stand by the city. We need to defend them. This guy's talking out his ass. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, why does he not know what he's talking about? Because he's not a partner. You know that's gonna come from somebody, right? I'm not a partner, so I obviously don't know because I'm not on the inside. So I'm not a partner, so I can't have a valid opinion. But this is not just being blanketly critical of the city. I enjoy many things that they do. I think they do so many things better than county. And I know this because I've experienced the nightmare that is county. So I know they do tons of stuff that's better than county. So I appreciate what they're doing. The NKLA thing and juxtaposed to what is Nathan Winograd's no-kill, there's conversations to be had there, what they're doing differently, you know, what's genuine, what's sort of marketing. These are all conversations that are valid and can happen, but I appreciate the fact that they're killing less dogs. They may be killing more than what they're admitting to, but they're still doing a way better job than county. And I think they're improving in a lot of areas, and that's all good. I don't dislike Brenda Barnett. I actually like Brenda. She's been fair to me, I feel like. We haven't had a lot of dealings with each other, but she's always cordial, and she at least comes out and takes the heat. That's the difference between Brenda and Marcia. You don't even have access to Marcia Maeda. And for those who don't know, she's the one that runs county. You don't even have access to her. There's no commission meeting that you can go to and speak to Marcia to her face. You can go to a supervisor's meeting, but she's normally not there unless they're doing some glad hand ceremony where she's getting like a plaque for doing a terrible job or something. But, you know, there's no meeting that you can go to talk to Marcia face to face. She's like a vampire. So at least Brenda comes out and faces the music. I can respect that. And I like her. I mean, I don't dislike her at all. I have my issues. I think that she's disingenuous at times. And there's definitely some retaliation going on with the volunteers, and I have a big problem with that. I think that's ridiculous. The directive 15001 from last year, and how all these dangerous dog cases and hearings are being done, and how dogs are being seized, all that shit is bullshit. You know, she's overseeing all that, so I have big problems there. I should be allowed to state what my problems are. And she should be allowed to tout the things that they're doing great. And there should be this conversation and this communication without retaliation. Because if there was no threat of retaliation, whether it's valid or not, most people still fear it. Most people think it's valid, feel that it's valid. Whether they can ultimately go to a court and have the Constitution trump it and get their job back, that's irrelevant. You know how much work and energy and money that takes if it got to that point? Come on. If retaliation was off the table, this conversation would be vastly expanded. There'd be so many more people coming in, giving genuine input, thought, bouncing ideas off of each other. For the most part, you're not seeing the head of an organization come out and give an off-the-cuff public comment about something that pisses them off. That never happens. And that should be allowed to happen because that's healthy. Communication is healthy. Taking handcuffs off of volunteers is healthy. Not having this threat of doom hanging over them. Not fearing that they can't speak about a list of topics. They can do A, B, and C, but they can't do D, E, and F. That's not fair. That's not right. That's not helpful. There's so much arrogance involved because when you get criticized at any level, so many people have this irrational, emotional portion of their brain that like triggers. And it's like, oh, they said something not nice about me. They're attacking me. It's an attack. maybe it's just a honest observation. And that's a tactic. That's how you skirt responding to someone pointing something out that you may disagree with. You call it an attack, and then you disregard it. So if people weren't so arrogant and so hoity-toity or above it all the time, weren't so hair trigger with their need to retaliate in some way, we'll show them. If all that wasn't going on, if people weren't in that space all the time, there'd be a much healthier Los Angeles sheltering experience. It's true. And I'm not a genius for saying that or knowing that. I just, I'm not the first one to say that, and I won't be the last.